Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the No More Heroin Survivor Series. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the No More Heroin Survivor Series. The Survivor Series is an original product of No More Heroin, and we showcase inspirational testimonies of people who have overcome seemingly insurmountable odds to have and live a life of purpose and destiny. These are candid discussions with people that are defying the odds and living a life beyond their wildest dream. They've overcome so many different obstacles in their lives, and tonight is no exception. And before I introduce my guest, we're going to let the audience build. I hope you'll enjoy this song by Casey Makes Music and Jordan Meyer, Sober. Please share this out, everybody.
Biggie, I don't hear you. Where the music? Cuts in and out.
Choice, so you tease and exploit, so you're squeezing your points, and the person they needs at that teetering point, going deeper when all they really need is a voice. You can do this. When you're gone and your life is over, what will they say?
I can't
Will they say? When you're gone, cause you won't get sober, what will they say?
I accidentally muted my mic. I'm sorry.
I don't wanna live life like this. I don't. Every time that I say I'll get claimed, but I know I won't. I've been battling all this time, it's killing me. And I'm trying to get sober, but it's hard for me. I know what it's like to be ran by that instinct inside you that sticks to the lie. I know what it's like to relive all the things that you did till you wished you would die. I know what it's like when you're waking up anxious and sick, and the logical thing is a fix, so you push all the things that you know you should do to the side, because you just want that high. But I also know what it feels like when you wake up excited for life, when you make that decision within you to live, so you give all that singing and fight for your life. There's time if there's breath in your lungs. It doesn't matter the depth of your runs. No more living on borrowing funds. No more thinking tomorrow I'm done, because sometimes tomorrow don't come. When you're gone and your life is over, what will they say? What will they say? When you're gone, cause you won't get sober, what will they say? What will they say? There are times I tell myself I'm not the only one. I know I'm not alone, and I try to be brave when everything inside you feels like giving up the fight. I know you're not alone.
Hi, Max.
Just try
England in the house. Hi, Monica. Thank you, Derek. When you're gone, 'cause you won't get sober. What will they say? What will they say? I don't wanna live life like this no more. I don't. Every time that I'm sick and clean and I know I won't. I don't wanna live life like this no more. I don't. Every time that I'm sick and clean and I know I won't. I don't wanna live life like this no more. I don't. Every time that I say I'm gonna clean, but I know I won't. But you can. You can. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Tonight is a special edition of the Survivor Series. I have my grand
Ziggy,
sponsor.
I don't hear you.
Huh? Can you hear me? Can you hear? Paulie, you can't hear me? What the hell's going on? Can anybody else hear me? How about now, Paulie? Can you hear me? Paulie, can you hear me? You can't hear me? Everybody else can hear me, Paulie. Hold on a second. He's in the garage, so hold on.
I don't hear you.
You can't hear anything?
No. No, I lost the music too, you know.
You're in the show. Hi, everybody. Video, audio. Muted. Should be able to hear me now.
You wanna go try it?
Yep. Can you hear me, Paulie? Can you hear me? You can't hear me?
No.
We can hear you. That's okay. You don't need to hear me. Go ahead.
I don't hear anything.
Damn. I don't know what to do. Well, everybody, hold 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so Paulie's going to come in and sit beside me. His microphone quit working on his phone for some reason. So he's going to come in and sit right beside me. We're going to do this one way or another. because you don't want to miss this message he's got. Can you all hear me? Where you want? You sit right beside me.
Let me get a chair.
Grab a chair.
Let me go get a smaller one.
Okay. With everyone on the internet tonight, everybody's at home. Everything's acting really, really hinky. Hey, AJ Morrow. We're at Drug Sweeper headquarters. Drug Sweeper is a company Paulie owns. He raises and trains German Shepherds to seek out drugs in airports, sober living homes, treatment centers. So you may hear the dogs in the background because they're here.
Hopefully not.
So Paulie is my grant sponsor. There's a lot of men in South Florida that have gone through the steps with Paulie, and we belong to a recovery family called the Dragon Slayers. Please, dog.
He'll calm down. Just don't pay attention.
Okay. And thanks to AJ Morrow, who's in the comments. He introduced me to the Dragon Slayers, and they've been an influential part of my recovery. Paulie has 33 years today. So please, I'm going to give Paulie the floor. He's going to tell you some of his story, how he got to 33 years of sobriety.
Hold on.
The dogs want some attention. Everything is hinky and crazy. Paulie's like transparent on the screen. This is so crazy the way this looks.
How you doing, everybody? I'm back.
Where are you from, Paulie?
Originally New Jersey.
Yeah?
Yeah, Trenton, New Jersey. I was
Can't
born and
tell.
raised there. Huh?
I can't tell from the accent. It's got amazing testimony. I'm going to give the floor to Paulie. It's just an honor to have you here.
Yeah, I'm sober today by the grace of God and the miracle of Alcoholics Anonymous. If you would have told me 33 years ago, I'd be sitting here today telling you that I don't do drugs or drink, I would have said you were crazy. People had me not even seeing my 25th birthday, let alone ever getting clean and sober. But in 1987, I had, hit bottom. I'm not going to sit here and talk, war story with you because we all have them. We know what they're like. We know the hell that we go through. But I like to talk about what my life is like today, regardless of the ups and downs that are in it too. But I just don't have to, drink or do drugs today over anything. So it was March 18th, 1987. I had a gun pointed at my head and was going to blow my brains out because I just didn't know how to stop drinking and doing drugs. My life was a terrible mess. And I was hopeless, and just didn't know how to stop. Didn't know that there was any type of solution, let alone, didn't even know about rehab. And the only reason I found rehab was because I dialed the operator and told her I was dying. So while she had me on the phone, she gave me 3 numbers to 3 treatment centers and asked me to promise that if one didn't take me, that I would call the next one. So the first one didn't have a bed, and I kind of hem-hauled a little bit, and I dialed the second one, and the second one told me to come in. So I entered treatment March 19th. March 20th was the first day that I didn't put anything in my body. So that was the date that I used. Even though, I was in a controlled environment, it was actually offered to me there. And I talk about my, I like to talk about my treatment a little bit because I was a real horrible client. And I see it all the time, over the years where, people go into treatment and they're just, the wheels are turning. And that's what was happening with me when I was in treatment. I just didn't know how to shut my mind down. And I honestly, it was another client that actually saved me from AMA and from treatment, because for the first 2 weeks, I wanted to leave. I didn't want to be there. I just wanted to get high and get drunk, because that was the only thing that I knew to feel right, and I didn't like being in my head, and I didn't like how I felt about everything that happened in my life leading up to the time that I walked into treatment. So
I can relate.
So that was the only thing that I knew to shut off, the circus that was going on in my head. So, like I said, there was a guy that he was a client that saved me, and he asked me something, a specific question. And he said to me, he goes, "Do you pray?" And at the time I had my biggest resentment was towards God. Because, today's also a very bittersweet day, because it's also 38 years to the day that my father passed away. Now, going back to 1982, March 20th of 1982, my father, one of the very last things he said to me was that I was killing him and I was going to be the death of him, and he dropped dead of a massive heart attack at 45 years old. So that being said, the next 5 years, prior to me entering treatment, was just an absolute, it was chaos. I shouldn't even be here, telling this story, because, the near-death experiences that I escaped,
Absolutely.
Being in the hospital, alcoholic coma, you name it, being so coked out of my mind that I didn't know my appendix went on me, had to have, I'm gutted from here to here. It was just all those things that should have took me out, but didn't.
It's proof of a higher power.
Of course, and today, with all those things that happened, there was always a much greater purpose for me, and you can see that today more clear than when you're sitting in treatment, of course. But after this kid talked me into staying, he took me to my knees for the first time in years. Like I said, I had a huge resentment towards God, and I had to give that up. I had to give that up at that very moment, and he said to me, if there was one thing that you would ask God right at this moment,
Hi, Sean.
what would you ask him? And I said to him, I said, to lift this obsession, for me to want to use. And
the yearning, the craving,
right,
the desire.
So, it talks about, step one, conceding to our innermost selves that we were alcoholic. Mm-hmm. That was the most significant, the most honest experience that I had in my life at that moment, was that I admitted to God that I had a drug problem and I had an alcohol problem. It wasn't about, the kid that put my hand in God's hand, my hand in God's hand, but it was about that very moment that I had to say, you know what? I need help.
That's a moment of just gut-wrenching honesty.
Gut-wrenching, and look, and the principle to the first step, right, is honesty. Mm-hmm. You've seen this just as much as I have, or I maybe probably seen it more because I've been around longer, but, we have people that we admitted we were powerless over alcohol and our lives were unmanageable. Yeah, because we go to jail and this and that and the other thing. But do we fully concede to our innermost? And that was that moment
With
where
no reservation.
with no reservation whatsoever. I knew I was a drunk. I knew I was a druggie, and I knew I needed help. And I knew that if I went back, that I wouldn't ever, I possibly wouldn't make it back, to recovery, and I hadn't even touched on recovery yet because I was still in treatment.
Sure.
But that was where the relationship with God first started to form. And did I have reservations at moments? Of course, because that's the addict and the alcoholic mind, the delusion, the illusion,
The obsessed,
right? The misleading thoughts,
the lies.
right?
Yeah.
And that's what that is. It talks about in our book, and it's nothing more than misleading thoughts, right? Because that's the disease saying, "Come on back out here, come on back out."
I got something for you.
Yeah. But when they made me write a goodbye letter, to alcohol and drugs, and booze and drugs were my best friend.
That's right, AJ.
They were my best friend because they were the things that made me not feel inadequate, not feel or remember the traumas and all these different things that happened in my life.
Being a failure.
Yeah. And look, nobody likes to fail.
No.
And it's funny that you brought that up because I had a very promising soccer career that I failed, and the reason I failed was because drugs and alcohol stripped all that from me.
Took precedence over everything.
Stripped it all to the point where I walked out of school. When I tell you I had it made, I would have had it made. But drugs and booze were more important.
Yeah, they interrupted your partying.
Yeah.
Having to practice,
and you hear me talk about this all the time. I get very frustrated with, the way the steps have gotten watered down, or these long written out, drawn out 4 steps that people can't even complete them and end up high over them.
Yes. They make it a monumental task, and it takes too long.
You see the work in our own sponsorship family, right?
It's true.
You see the amount of men that have been through their steps and are sober, and they're taking other people through the steps now. And that's what it's all about. Look, when Dr. Bob did his steps, he was sponsoring somebody in 24 days. You hear people say now, you can't sponsor anybody for 6 months. What do you mean?
What do you mean?
What do you mean? No, absolutely not. Because that's how Dr. Bob stayed sober, by taking somebody else through the work.
That's right.
Just like we do. Just like we do. I was extremely blessed to have the people around me that I had around me in early recovery that not only taught me how to do the work, but held me accountable like nobody ever held me accountable in my life. And I needed that.
Sure.
Because I thought I knew everything.
We all do.
I thought I knew it all, but I didn't know how to stay sober.
Nope.
And I really wanted to.
I can relate to that.
I don't often, you never probably even heard me talk about my time because, I just like to keep it moving.
Sure.
For me, I'm no different than anyone else. Whoever has a day sober or 40 years, we are all the same. Yeah, may one person have a little bit more knowledge of the game? Yeah. But in the end, we're all human.
That's right.
We're all the same. You know, some of the, you know, the most growth that has ever happened in this program for me has been through mistakes that I've made, you know, and the beauty of it is that, you know, I didn't get high or I didn't get drunk over it, you know. Relationships, you know, people, you know, we see, you know, today the whole model of treatment and recovery is just so bizarre. You know, we have couple halfway houses and all this crazy nonsense. And it's like, oh my God, if I can't be in a couple's house, I'm not going to stay sober. You know, you put them in a couple's house and they're high the next day.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's look, this thing has to be done and it's got to be done by you. You know, there's no way in hell that if you would have stuck me in a couple's house back in the day that I would have ever stayed sober.
You couldn't focus on yourself. What describe the process that we use to go through the 12 steps.
So, you know, it's simple. It's a simple checklist. You know, it's not rocket science.
It's back to basics, right?
You know, it's, you know, like Dr. Bob said, you know, don't make it complex.
That's right.
There's no reason to complicate the process.
Don't mess it up.
You know, don't louse it up.
Don't louse it up.
Don't louse it up,
Don't
he
louse
said.
in that letter, yep.
Yeah. And, you know, and that's the thing. You know, look, if I have 6 to 7 hours in the course of a day, I could take somebody through all 12.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've done it.
We've done it. We've done
you know, we've done it in groups. And, you know, and look, the success is the proof in the pudding, right? Mm-hmm. You have 60 some guys in a sponsorship family that are all staying sober.
And sponsoring other men.
And sponsoring other men. Have a couple dropped off here and there? Of course they have. But the majority, right? Back in the day, during Dr. Bob and Bill's time, right? When AA first started, the success rate was 98%.
Okay. They were getting into the work right away.
98% success rate. And you got to ask yourself, okay, well, what happened? Right? A lot of outside influences, you know, have infiltrated their way into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. And it's nothing against treatment and therapy, because I believe in both. But, you know, that's where this written out long, if you're not thorough on your 4th step, you are going to get high.
Right.
Right? It's progress. The 4th step isn't about perfection.
Because you can always come back and revisit that.
Exactly. If first off, if somebody would have told me that when I first came in the room, hey, Paulie, I want you to read the first 164 pages of that book, right? And then when you read that first 164 pages, we'll start your steps. I would have been dead.
I have no comprehension on what I'm reading to begin with, and I don't have the attention span.
And that's the whole purpose. That's the whole purpose of why the steps were designed the way they were. Because look, there's not a whole, is there a time and a place to do all the reading in this book? 100%. 100%. But you get somebody coming out of treatment, right? Like myself back in 1987.
AJ.
Right? Back in 1987, I come out of treatment and you tell me to read all this stuff. Guess what? I would have went to the nearest fucking gin mill. Because it wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have happened. My brain was mush. You know, so there was no way that I was going to comprehend a book this thick. Right?
I'm just looking at the screen of how you're digitized. Well, you know, we're going to have to do this again when we have better reception, but this is so good right now. Hi, Bubba.
So, you know, that's the thing that, you know, infuriates me, you know, and we hear all these different things, you know, and I cringe, you know, because look, it's a simple checklist, right? When we get to the 4th step, right? And it's a simple checklist. We go through it, right? That 4-step, we go through the checklist, right? And we get right into the 5th step. And the 5th step is nothing more than a conversation. Right? Where us as a sponsor, while we're having that conversation, now we're starting to write down that amends list, right? And prioritizing what needs to be, what's that prioritized amends look like? Who's that got to go to? You know, it's our job to say, hey, you know, along with the conversation with the sponsee, you know, maybe we better back off this one. Maybe this one should get a letter, you know? Maybe we don't say.
We don't want to cause any harm.
We don't want to cause more harm.
Cause more baggage for ourselves.
You know? And as long as those crucial amends, look, that's where Dr. Bob tripped up at.
Stop the hemorrhaging, right?
Stop the hemorrhaging.
Stop the hemorrhaging.
You know, and that's the beauty of the process, is that, you know, look, we have guys, right, that within a couple days of doing this work, the way we're doing this work, they're set out and they're making their amends, right? Now they're not carrying that burden of all that shit and guilt around anymore.
That's right.
Because that's the stuff that gets us high.
Yeah.
I knew, look, I was a shitbag, man. I was an absolute shitbag. And if I hadn't done those steps and went out and set out and did what I had to do, those immediate amends, I wouldn't be sitting here today with you.
Gotta unload. We've been carrying a lot of baggage for a lot of time. And that's the stuff that gets us high, right?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So, you know, that being said, it's, you know, it's do or die. You know, we're now we got to worry about this virus crap, you know, but am I operating my life in fear over a virus? No, because I survived a lot worse.
That's right.
You know,
we lived in isolation for so long.
In 2005, I had major back surgery, right? 6 months out of that surgery, I got cancer in my throat. And I didn't have to get high or drunk over it.
Steve Rona's in the house?
I didn't have to get high or drunk over it. You know, so am I scared of a virus? No. Am I going to put myself in harm's way? No. I'm going to be responsible. You know, I'm a bit of a germaphobe anyway, so I'm always washing my hands, and I always have wipes and stuff in my truck. So, hold on a second.
1 second. What's up, Leroy? Come on and say hi. What's up?
We got another brother here.
Leroy Best. Sponsorship family.
Right. He got the dogs riled up.
That's right.
There'll be more guys coming in. We're going to be having a meal after this just to celebrate with Paulie. But continue.
So
hi.
So the bottom line is that, you know, with today, now you're dealing with a whole nother pandemic, you know, and it's not the coronavirus pandemic. You're dealing with the opiate pandemic, right? Which is wiping out generations and generations of people. You know, the unfortunate thing for me is being in the trenches. As long as I've been in the trenches, I've seen one too many dead bodies.
Yes.
You know, New Jersey here, it's sad, man. It's sad, you know, and it comes down to, you know, and it's not, and I'm not taking shots at anybody, but they don't give this thing a chance.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, and it comes down to laziness, man. It comes down to laziness.
Fear and laziness. Fear of change, fear of, you know, getting outside their comfort zone, which is chaotic and horrific, but it's all we know.
You know,
We're
look,
programmed.
I took this shit serious because I know, for me, I know the way I drink, and I know the way that I did drugs. Right? If anybody ever seen or knew me back then, you would know what I was talking about. So for me, I know for me to use is to die. There's no question.
Cam Sims.
No question whatsoever
Bonsi brothers.
about it. I know it. So for me, if you tell me that the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, if you continue to work the process and continue to work the steps, help another person, that you will continue to stay sober.
Absolutely.
Well, gosh, you know what? That sounds pretty easy to me.
It is
You know,
easy. We complicate it.
We complicate the crap out of it.
Now, coming back into recovery this time for myself, I've been through the steps 4 or 5 times, but I haven't been able to stay abstinent this whole time. And I was trying to figure out why. And somebody called me out in a meeting and told me that I was a thief of AA because I had not completed a thorough 12-step, which means carrying the message. You know, I got really involved with social media, you know, and doing this and that, but I wasn't actively taking men through the steps. So,
and now you are.
and now I am, and I'm happy. And things are just way different for me because there's a level of joy and freedom in helping another man, you know, on a one-to-one basis or in a group like we do every Sunday.
You know, look, there's proof that it works for many, 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 many years, right? Guys that I knew that were still out there, as I was sitting in the rooms, I watched, I would have thought, just like people thought about me, that I would have died.
Sure.
You know?
Yogi.
And they're sober today. You know, and the only reason is because
hopeless cases.
Yeah, man. Like total crackpot.
Like that guy.
Yeah, like him.
Leroy.
The guy from Baltimore.
There's a whole shitload of Baltimore guys down here.
But yeah, you know,
really lost causes.
And to watch life, you know, people's lives change, you know, right in front of your eyes is really the beauty of this thing, you know. And you know, the other thing is that, you know, sobriety, if somebody tells you just because you put down drugs and you put down booze and you work this program that your life's perfect,
right?
Wrong answer.
No.
Wrong answer. You know, but one of the things it does do, it gives us the tools to be able to deal with the things that used to make us want.
Hi, Brian.
Used to make us want to get high.
Absolutely.
You know, and you know, I've gone through hell. You know, gone through hell over the last year too, and I didn't have to get high or get drunk over it.
There's no solution for you there anymore.
No, absolutely not. For what? For what?
For a minuscule amount of relief that will lead you to long-term consequences.
Not going to happen.
Doesn't work that way.
No. I just turned and helped somebody else.
So so I always tell people that the 12 steps of recovery can work towards any affliction, any problem you want to address.
Look, the book of Alcoholics Anonymous is good for a normal person if they want to change, because it's not just about, look, the drinking and the drugging was just a small part of what's really wrong with us.
It's right here. It's inside us.
You know,
being separated.
it's us being spiritually broken, right? Mentally,
physically.
It's everything. You know, for me, there was no spirituality, you know, and once that's they can't keep going in and out of the door, man.
Yogi.
Nice.
Sorry, guys. Who is it? Mark. It's Mark.
The dogs hate Mark.
Almost as much as they like Gary Gaston.
Yeah.
So if somebody was trying to quit smoking, how would you Sasha? How would you apply the 12 steps to smoking?
It's no different. I mean, look, if you can't quit smoking, right, then you're pretty powerless.
Okay, step 1.
Right?
Admitting you're powerless.
Yeah.
Okay, step 2.
You know, step 2, you know, now you got to let God, right, just like I did in that very moment, right, allow God to lift that obsession. Right, when I was sitting on my knees with another guy in treatment.
Absolutely.
You know, I know people that tried to use the 12 steps for smoking, failed, right? Then got sick or ended up in the hospital and quit that way.
Sure.
You know, I look at me. I was off for 14 years.
You quit smoking for 14 years?
I didn't smoke for 14 years.
What happened?
What happened? I was in Tennessee, not Chattanooga.
Chattanooga.
And it was just, look, and there you have it. And that's, you know, the addictive mind,
I just want one.
the personality, right? And, you know, I had a fractured root, horrible toothache, right? And I couldn't sleep. I was losing my mind. And just like my back surgery, and when I had the cancer in my neck and all that other stuff, I could take any pain meds, you know? And I had been up for 3 nights waiting to get in to see a dentist out there in Tennessee. And there was a guy smoking a cigarette. And I'm like, oh, man, maybe that'll take my mind off this toothache, you know? And nah.
Step 3.
But yeah, I mean, look, you know, it works for gambling.
Yep.
You know, I know people that had some horrible gambling problems. Right?
Food addictions.
Food addiction, same thing.
Sex addictions.
You know, the 12 steps are designed to help various addictions.
Jabron Lames.
Yeah, we got a bunch of bed bugs that just want.
Okay, you want to close it up real quick?
No, I appreciate you doing this with me, and
we're gonna do it again.
Yeah, we'll do it again.
I'll have you come to our place.
Yeah, when guys don't walk in the door and are rude and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So look, selfish and self-centered.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
That's what we all are.
When you're the patriarch of you're in a leadership role, people are drawn to you. You know, Paulie has a lot of knowledge, you know, a lot of lived experience. And I just wanted to take this time to introduce you guys to him. So you'll be seeing Paulie again and more members of the Dragon Slayers, because there's a lot of experience.
What do you mean?
What do you mean? Gino, come here and say hi. Mark, come say hi.
He's sweaty.
I am.
He
Just got done playing ball.
He can have my seat.
We had a sponsorship basketball game.
Yeah, I wasn't invited.
You don't play basketball
How do you know?
because you had a show to do. How y'all doing?
This is my roommate, Mark. This is Gino. He's from Chattanooga, Tennessee.
How's
From
it
New
going?
York.
Jabron Lames, guys.
On Facebook. These guys are very important to me. They're my sponsorship brothers. They're my main support network down here. Something I haven't had in recovery. So if you're missing that in your life, please get that connection with other men and women. Shayna, please come say hello. We have women, a women's division of the Dragon Slayers.
Hi.
Shayna.
What's on my
She's the
head?
prettiest one of us all.
Well, duh.
Well, duh.
Sorry, I think my ego's
Clean
flowing.
date.
February 9th, 2016.
4 years. Sponsoring women. Gino is coming up on a year.
9 months.
9 months. 9 months. Mark,
Wednesday.
how much time you got?
Coming up on 8 months on the 6th
8
of
months.
next month.
We're all sponsoring other men in the program. Well, hi.
6 months and 2 days.
Hi. Gino's girlfriend's back there. But anyways, we're gonna end this. We're gonna get together. We're gonna eat some sushi. We're gonna stay safe in this dark time. Please, guys, stay safe.
See you guys.
Stay home. Stay away from large crowds of people. Don't go out unless you have to. Get involved on these lives and whatnot. I appreciate and love all of you for being on here and sharing it out. We'll be doing much more. Hi, Sasha. Say hi, Sasha. Anyways, signing off from Drug Sweeper headquarters, and Paulie Tessein, congratulations on 33 years. I love you, bro.
Let's go.
Good night, you guys. Hey, Brian, love you, dude.